Hello, everyone, and welcome to Grip Locked, Foundation Disc Golf's weekly podcast. I'm Hunter, joined as always by Trevor, and we've got a pretty action-packed show here. A lot of news has broke over, well, not a ton, but some news has broke over the last week or so, and plus we had quite possibly the biggest B tier of all time. I'm just go ahead and I'm gonna call it the biggest B tier of all time.
It's a pretty big one
because it was the Lone Star Classic with $30,000 added cash and USDGC and Women's National Championship spots up for grabs.
Plus, everybody was already in Texas, so it just kind of was very convenient.
Which, to be honest with you, the field was not as stacked as you would have expected.
No.
Which was kind of surprising. I guess it's weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
The biggest question that came up when I first saw this event is why the heck is this not an A tier?
Yeah, I wonder. Well, I think it probably has something to do with the A tier restrictions this year, right? Like they were tough.
Yeah,
that's why we.
I know the answer. It's like it's a newer event.
Well, and also my second question then is, well, yeah, like I guess the newer event, and then we don't really know when the added cash was announced. You know, it could have been like a later thing. So
I mean, the title sponsor put up, I believe it was 25,000 of the 30. 5,000 of it was going to coverage.
It must have just been that it's too new then. That's probably the only answer to that.
So that's exactly what I was assuming. If that is the case, do you like that an event like this with this much... I've said before I like the tier system and the way it's ran. But when looking at it, I'm not sure that I do. Yeah. Because... I feel like the only reason this wasn't better attended is because of the tier, being a B tier. And also the fact like it's not a silver series or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just weird to me that we can have an event with this much added cash and there were some decent names. Double G was there, Conrad was there.
Yeah.
But like they were the highest rated players in the field.
Well,
You're missing that upper echelon pros.
I don't know if the tiers have anything to do with it. I do think there isn't a lot of chances for a stop right now for a break week. And I think this might have just been the unlucky event where like guys were like, we need a break or whatever it might be before, you know, the Vintage Open, which a lot of the good players are playing. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much the tier really plays into because other than the added cash minimums, it doesn't. Although it does change your points though, right?
Changes your points.
Yeah.
The added cash minimums change. And then some of the regulations on how the event is ran, like when courses have to be set up.
I don't know that it has. I mean, it might deter some players like worried about the professionalism, how smoothly the event's going to be run, with the tier being lower.
I don't know though.
But I feel like it was just a case of. I mean, maybe some of the golfers are sick of Texas golf.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I just found it very interesting when I was looking at it and I was looking through the results and stuff.
Well, why did they do the restrictions? Remind me on A tiers for this year.
They just said that there wasn't really restrictions. They just said they had an overabundance of applications.
Right.
And so they had to be very selective of which ones.
Because wasn't there a limit per state?
They kind of limit it, yeah. They want to make sure that there's enough distance between weekends, stuff like that.
So the PDGA like prioritizes A tiers, like, but I don't think the PDGA realizes that there's enough demand to support more A tiers than they probably anticipated.
Yeah, well, also, Virginia... From what I have seen, Virginia doesn't even have an A tier this year.
Yeah. We were only going to have, what, one?
And the most we've ever had in the past is 2. Fall Colors and 2 Days in May.
Yeah.
I say the past. In my playing career.
Right.
There could have been more before then. But 2 Days in May, to my knowledge, isn't even happening this year at all.
So that doesn't make any sense.
And Fall Colors, again, is probably happening, but for some reason it's not an A tier this year. And so we just drove and played the closest one, which is in Raleigh. And it was a good event. But I just don't get it. Just seems weird to me. Like restrictions where like this event with 30,000 added, not an A tier to B tier, and then like how much weight is actually putting on that.
Yeah,
I do know like had the Dogwood Classic that we played been a B tier, I wouldn't have went.
Yeah,
which is kind of, and I don't know why I wouldn't have went.
Yeah, I mean I can't really say
like would you have gone if it was a B tier?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know what it is. Like I think it's just an expectation thing of you hear A tier and you know you're gonna get a great.
I kind of forgot it was an A tier until we went. I thought it was a B tier, so I definitely didn't play into my decision making.
I don't know because like I wasn't driving 2.5 hours for a B tier.
I think it was a lot different because I had a place to stay with my in-laws.
That's also true.
So like, if I was getting a hotel and paying for a hotel, that would have been.
I think, I just think when you hear A tier, you know it's gonna live up to like certain standards, and so for me, I'm a lot more likely to go. So I don't know. I agree with you though that I think the sport's at a spot where there could have been a lot more A tiers, and they could have all been sustained.
Yeah,
because
I also wonder,
these events are filling in less than an hour a lot of times.
Like, at what point within the sport do we just get to where all disc golf tournaments need to be run to A tier standards? Forget the added cash, because I get the cash thing. That's probably the reason the tiering system still exists for the most part, is it's kind of tipping off the pros. Here's how much money is here for you, a chance to tour.
But B tiers even last year had crazy added cash.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, as far as like there being different standards of how a tournament needs to be run, I feel like there eventually is going to be a point where like everything should be run to a standard.
Well, my thing is, if you're a B tier with 30,000 added cash, you're running that tournament as an A tier.
Right.
I guarantee you.
We just don't want like certain tournaments to fall behind in standards, and then somebody plays a C tier for the first time, like first tournament, and then they're like, "Well, this is a joke."
Well, that's where I almost feel, as the sport grows and the way it's progressing, with how much demand there are for tournaments, right, and how many great TDs there are out there, I almost feel like the PDGA could cut C tiers or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And say we're gonna run B tiers and above. Because C tiers, there's no added cash requirement, all of this. Players can get a rating is the only benefit to the sanctioning thing. And I'm sure that's a big part of PDGA funding is how many C tiers there are, but there's no requirement distance-wise between events. You can run on the same weekend as like one. You don't have to get like approval. You might have to get approval now for, I think that might be a newer thing, but there's no restrictions. It's kind of a free-for-all when you sanction it. I could see that being something like that, or C tiers become the new B tiers, and like there is a minimum added cash to be a sanctioned pro tournament type thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I do agree that there should be some higher standards. Because you can go to some C tiers and every other card is smoking, and they're all in like.
Yeah, nobody's really caring. It's just
it's like you're going to a weekly where it's just you're having fun playing disc golf, but you're getting a rating.
Yeah, it's a weird balance, because at the same time you don't want the C tier events to go away, because those are really fun to go play, not care as much, but you almost don't want them to be like on the same level of like, this is a PDGA sanctioned tournament. You almost want, like, if a tournament is PDGA sanctioned, for that to like carry some weight.
That's what I was saying. That's
like,
more what I was saying.
Yeah, it's almost like the C tier type events should just kind of, be more of a fun thing. But I know that ratings just are the lifeblood of disc golf. They are what make people show up.
To be honest with you, if I was the PDGA,
what if they just took ratings away for A tier and above?
No, I would screw taking ratings away. I would make it where not even a sanctioning fee, but for X amount, like the event isn't sanctioned, but it allows players to calculate and include their rating. Almost like weekly leagues, but it can be one-off event.
Right.
To replace C tiers, to where it's not a PDGA sanctioned event, so there's not that you go to a PDGA sanctioned event and it sucks.
Then what does sanctioned even mean then? Endorsed, I guess.
Endorsed and rules, yeah.
Well, if there's no rules, then how can you do the ratings though?
No, the PDGA rules would be in effect. What I'm saying sanctioned is like if you go on the PDGA and you're going through the event list and stuff like that, like.
Right.
That's one of the biggest benefits as a TD to sanctioning a tournament. Beyond anything is that it's on the PDGA's website and it's listed there. So if you don't have any other way to market it, people are going on there and searching for events in their area, and it's on that list. So that indirectly is tying the PDGA to that event. The PDGA isn't going to get a bad rep. The TD will get a bad rep for running a horrible event. Yeah. I've been to, I won't say any names, but there are certain TDs that I went to events of before that when I see an event in that area, I make sure it's not that TD because I will not show back up because they just let tournaments ran by them just were awful. To be honest with you.
Same.
And so there's certain TDs that I will pay attention to. I've never looked at the PDGA in a bad light, but that's me because I understand the inner workings. That might be if it's someone's first tournament out, they might be like, well, this is awful. Like this is what disc golf's all about, and they hold the whole sport to the standard they saw there. None of that was in the notes. So MPO results for the Lone Star Classic. We had Matty O pop off a little bit, win by 5 strokes over a 3-way tie for second between GT Hancock, Mason Ford and Connor O'Reilly. They all tied for second. I believe the next player down was Double G in fifth, and James Conrad was kind of hanging around in there too. But Matteo with another impressive performance.
Yeah.
He just came off of a second place at Texas State's.
Yeah.
Went straight into this, took it down, and I believe all of the players I just listed did end up qualifying for USDGC. They gave away 5 spots. I believe they took up 4 of them. Double G and Conrad were already qualified.
Okay.
So then the 7th place person got one as well.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, that was a big time thing. One thing though is a lot of players didn't know this was a USDGC qualifier.
Really?
Because, I say a lot of players that I know of and talk to, because Nick Carl was the first one to tell me it was.
Yeah.
I didn't see it promoted, this tournament promoted. Nick Carl told me the Lone Star Classic is a USDGC qualifier. So that's random. Brody didn't play in it. And then Paul was like, why didn't you play in it, Brody? Like, that would have probably been one of the easiest ways to qualify for USDGC because, you know, it's a B tier. Not a lot of players are going right now.
Yeah.
Brody had no clue. And it also...
I wonder if they were keeping it on the down low, like...
But why?
Worried about their tournament getting filled. Like, they wanted to keep it to, like, local guys more, like, give them a shot.
Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe it was, like, a Texas thing where they're like, hey, we want to get a bunch of Texas guys into the USDGC. Let's keep it...
I mean, I feel like they were promoting it. It's just...
But they were... Well,
it wasn't reaching...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, the USDGC thing, that would have brought people from everywhere. If they see,
and they were already in Texas.
There's a B tier that I can get into the USDGC. Like,
and that's another thing, too, is how did they get USDGC qualifying spots?
That's a real mind blower, being a B tier. I guess, well, whose decision is that? Innova decided to get someone.
I think Innova was a sponsor, a partial sponsor.
When was that decision made? Because maybe Innova was like, this is our chance to get
maybe we're
our
trying
guys
to get
in. Because
Innova might have been trying to get it as an A tier. They might have been like, yeah, we'll invest in this tournament. You know, let them know you have USDC qualifying spots, all this added cash. It'll be an A tier.
There's a interesting question. What if, like, and I'm not saying this is what happened, but what if, like, Innova, like, made an event a qualifier, kept it on the down low, but made sure their borderline guys got into it and, like, could qualify so they could play at the USDGC? Scandal.
There's a conspiracy theory for you.
I mean, that's not the case because they're big guns. Like, well, I guess no, Conrad's not even Innova anymore.
And he's also qualified.
Mason Ford's Innova, though.
And he did qualify for USDGC.
Scandal. So
on the FPO side, we had Lisa Fakis. I almost called her Lisa Fajita. So many people. Well, so many people, like, I've heard, like, Zach Melton. That's like his nickname for her, and then I've heard Hannah Macbeth call her that before. I don't know if that's like an actual nickname or
hopefully
people just say
if like they're friends of her and they call her that, and it's not like
they are friends of her and they do call her that.
Okay, so that's good.
But
like
whenever I read her name, that's just like that's how I heard her name like the first time, so it's so hard for me to read Lisa Fakis.
Yeah.
But yeah, Lisa Fakis took it down by 1. She actually birdied hole 18 to win it. She had a little bit of a rough final round. Sarah Hokum came in second. Then we had Stephanie Vincent and Owen Scoggins tying for third there. Nice. One thing that was very interesting about this event, so there was, as I mentioned, $30,000 out of cash.
Yeah.
The title sponsor put in $25,000 of it. $5,000 actually wasn't added to cash. That went to media coverage of the event. So I guess paying GK Pro and whoever else covered it. And then $20,000 was added cash for the whole event. Mm-hmm. And then Tito's Vodka, I believe, put in $10,000 additional to get it to $30,000. But they put in their $10,000 specifically to FPO.
Interesting.
So that's why this next part I'm about to talk about of the payout numbers, if you looked at them on, just strictly looked at the PDGA, it looks confusing because the FPO added cash to their field compared to the MPO is like equal, even though there's 24 FPO and 90 some MPO.
92.
When I first looked at it, I was like, what the heck's going on here? And then I realized Tito's sponsor. Pretty cool thing, because another question I saw got brought up is originally it looked, the tour standard basically saying the amount of added cash that comes in has to be broken by the amount of players in the open field, evenly distributed amongst that. What that is in reference to is the minimum added cash.
Yeah.
So for a B tier, I believe it's $750. They might have just bumped it to $1,000. Let's just say it's around $1,000. That first $1,000 has to be broken evenly. Anything above that can be distributed however. So Tito's came in and said, we want to support FPO and women's disc golf. Here's $10,000.
Crazy.
Now, what confused me is why was there only 24 women here? With $10,000. Now,
that doesn't make any sense.
We don't know the timeline.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking I wonder if that second 10 grand came in late.
Like if it was already full.
Registration was closed, it was full. But yeah, because like you would think with that much money on the line.
That much money, everyone's already in Texas.
Yeah, they would all be flocking.
I mean, it ended up being like a 500% per player value. Right. So if I was an FPO player and I'm sitting there and I hear like this company is A, supporting women's disc golf that much, B, putting $10,000 only into the FPO purse at a B tier, you bet your bottom dollar I'm showing up.
It's a no-brainer.
Paige Pierce did show up. 6th place again.
She technically showed up, but her game did
not. Her game never made it to Texas.
No.
Let's just put it that way.
She needs to turn around really quickly.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
She's not playing good golf right now.
I genuinely, I have no idea what's going on. But my gut feeling is it's her lifetime goal to get to 1,000 rated.
I think the pressure got to her.
She got the 996. I think she knew the Texas swing, if she played good, she'd break 1,000.
Yeah.
And I think that pressure got to her.
I think you're exactly right.
And that's the only thing that makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also one thing people are still freaking out over him. I just thought it was kind of poorly timed was her 996 stamp discs.
I know.
It's pretty obvious Discraft was in the same. This is also something that confirmed my thought process. Discraft is just now releasing them when the ratings update happens next week.
Right.
Or I think they released them yesterday. My thought process is they released them a week before the ratings come out. When she got the 996 rated a month ago, it's pretty obvious they were in the same thought process of like, well, why would we release 996? You might be 1,000 after this next month.
Right.
I think everyone was in the same thought process of go out, play your golf like you've been playing. You're going to get to 1,000 rated. We'll do a 1,000 rated disc for you.
Yeah.
And then it didn't happen. And they're like, well, we still need to like do something with her accomplishment.
Right.
And we need to get it done before her rating drops to 990 or whatever it's about to go to.
Yeah.
And so then they came out with this. They still sold out in like 10 minutes. Well, and they're still going to be a collector's item because it was still a great accomplishment.
I mean,
it just was all kind of weird timing of like.
I really hope like the dust settles and like she gets back on track.
She will get to 1,000 rated eventually. She is still the greatest female disc golfer of all time. It's going to be this is a hard
yips
stretch.
Can be tough to shake.
This is a hard stretch to bounce back from.
Yeah, if she's got the yips right now in her game and is lacking confidence, it's very tough to shake. I'm just going
to go ahead and tell you, she's not at the Vintage Open. But I was not picking her in my top 3.
No, yeah, I wouldn't have either.
I don't know when I'll pick her again. I'm gonna need a few events of her getting in the top 3 for me to pick her again.
Yeah, it's surprising me a lot.
Yeah, I mean, Jonesboro last year she dominated. That's gonna be a true tell.
Yeah, if she plays bad at Jonesboro, like that's.
Yeah, if she plays bad at Jonesboro, we might. It might be a very interesting FPO season because
I don't know what's gonna
Katrina Allen is going to be in the mix. She always is.
Yeah.
But all that's happening right now is a lot of these women are looking for years, and you've heard some of them talk about it, looked at Paige Pierce as, and it happened in the MPO field too, where they were looking at Paul. They looked at Paige Pierce, or even Paul and Ricky, as the players to beat.
Yeah.
Once you beat her once or twice, you get confidence of like,
right,
I've done it.
Mm-hmm. It's
even with her not playing at her best, that's still giving these women confidence of like, oh, like,
yeah,
I've done it.
I mean, Kat
multiple times.
Kat and Haley are kind of sneaking up there in the ratings too, to where I think Haley. What's Haley's rating at? Wasn't she getting up there?
I don't know. Can you look that up,
Look
Connor?
up Haley's rating. I think I may be mistaken, but I believe her rating was up there. I know Kat's at like 966 now, to where Haley might be a little bit lower. But there's a lot of players creeping up around the 950s where if Paige drops to like 980, 975, like they might meet her there. It's going to start getting real interesting. What do you got?
It's 965.
Yeah, okay, I thought so. Yeah, so like some of these players, if they keep playing
they play really well.
They get like a couple, like a next ratings update, they get like a 10-point bump, and Paige gets a 10-point down. Like, maybe we start talking about somebody catching her for the highest rated player.
Which I wonder when the last time Paige wasn't the highest rated female in the world.
A long time ago. I mean,
she's been in a class of her own for, I feel like, years. I mean, maybe it's not been that long. Maybe Kat was right up there with her. But, I mean,
there may have been a time where Kat and her were really close and she might have had her.
But feeling-wise, like,
ago.
It feels like it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Just, again, that's not based on stats. But where this all was coming from is I wanted to look at the purse both on the MPO and FPO side because I don't understand. This is something that we've seen and we've talked about and we've talked about and we talked about and we're going to keep talking about because I this is one of my least favorite parts of professional disc golf. MPO total purse, $22,175. The winner took home $2,500.
So bad.
If I plug the numbers in to what we use at tournaments to calculate payout, the winner would have taken home $5,280, more than twice as much.
Yeah.
And last cash would have taken home $145 instead of $290.
Which
like, they still got more than their entry
fee. Your last cash, yeah, you should just be making your money back. Like
no one in last cash is expecting to walk away in the positive.
All right,
like you came in at literally 37th place.
You gotta pay the winners more. Like why? Like,
and it's not
I
even.
just don't get it.
It's not even like I said, we're going from 290 last cash to 145. It's not like we're going where last cash is now, instead of being 37th place, we're only paying the top 20.
It's the same amount of people.
We're paying the same amount of people. Right. They're making more than their entry fee, but now we're rewarding the winner. Now, Matty O, instead of walking home with $2,500, is walking home with over $5,000.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
Like what very big difference. Last year at the Battle for Bedford had only 6,000 added cash to the whole pro field. The whole pro field, not just MPO. Paul walked away with $2,000 as the winner.
Right, yeah.
That's $500 less than a tournament with 30,000.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to do than you would think. It's just, once again, the PDGA has this like...
But it's not even the PDGA, because they don't actually have any rules on how payout's supposed to be broken down. They have when you plug it into the tournament.
Well, then I tell you what it really is. Then it's TDs trying to be best friends with everybody.
No, I think it's TDs not caring beyond, because if you plug the numbers in, so it's like default breaks down to this.
Okay, so
the PDGA has a default and whatever breakdown.
I think everybody just does that, and it's just kind of like universally accepted. But
why?
I know if you do it our way and go top heavy, it's not
even really our way. This is TexasArmyTrails.com or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just it's literally, if you search disc golf payout calculator, it's like the first one that comes up.
If you do it the more top heavy way, the real competitors, the guys that really have a winning attitude, are gonna be happy about it, because they're gonna be like, awesome, I'm gonna go out and win this tournament.
I've done this for every tournament I've ran.
The journey guys who are just like kind of comfortable being sitting around the middle of the pack are gonna be upset about it.
They're not even going to be. I promise you. Because they're not losing that much money.
Then they're not good for the sport. If they're just kind of chilling.
I have done this because we have tested this at different events. We've even tested it some on the Blue Ridge Tour. 0 complaints.
Yeah.
0, because when you're in 25th place, you are upset at yourself for how you played, most likely, or you're stoked to have cashed. Either way, you're not looking at your envelope going, why'd I get $300 when I paid $117 to enter?
Yeah.
Versus, this should have been $500.
Yeah.
Like, the person in 25th place cares a lot less about that $200 than the person in first place cares about that $2,000. And that's what it comes down to. Is why are we handing, and it's the same on the FPO. FPO total purse was $13,533. Lisa took home $3,519, and she could have taken home $4,620. So FPO wasn't as drastic improvement, but last cash would have still taken home $460 when they paid $117 to enter.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's got to change.
I just don't understand why we're prioritizing players who are losing events.
Right.
Over winners.
Right. Yeah. You got to favor the winners more. It just,
especially when in this
makes
scenario,
everything more competitive. Especially when the drop off from first to second is so much, it makes it so much even more competitive, knowing that not only is that, instead of that putt being maybe worth $1,000, that putt may be worth $3,000.
Yeah.
It just adds that much more drama to it, knowing that winning means so much more than coming in second or third.
But it also it's not I think in the past people have misunderstood when we talked about this and either thought we were cutting the amount of people paid, which we have recommended before on the Pro Tour. Because I do think on the Pro Tour, if you're trying to be a touring professional, you're not happy about coming in 55th place and getting $200 because you're trying to live.
Yeah.
Good luck. But on a B tier or something like this, we're not talking about cutting that. No. 37th place is still getting more money than they put in, right? So, but by doing it, you can make a shift to winning a tournament more valuable that takes away basically nothing from the whole field. You take a little bit away from the majority of the field and shift it towards the top to where even second place and third place are making a little bit more money.
Yeah.
So now if you show up to a tournament and you perform well, there's more money in disc golf than people realize. It's just it's getting used wrong.
Right.
It's going to the wrong people.
Yes. Very good statement.
And that's not even just in tournaments. That's in
everything.
A whole lot of the sport. There is a lot more money in this sport, and I don't really know how to say it other than that. There's a lot more money in this sport than people realize, and it's not even it's lining people's pockets, per se. Some of it is.
Some of it is.
I mean, there was 10 things that came to my mind. I was like, can't say that, can't say that, can't say that. Some of it is, sure, and not it's being illegally done. No. Some of it is, No, none of it that I know of is being illegally done. But some of it is going to people's pockets.
I think some of it's just being misused.
But some of it, yeah, it's just
for,
being
the wrong things.
Dumbly used.
Yeah.
Like, it just makes no sense as to like this scenario. Why wouldn't we want to reward Matty O for winning a big event, a B tier?
Yeah, it's a lot more. I think too, like, disc golf events, if you notice, flex a lot on the purse amount and not a lot on what the winner's gonna win.
Yeah, because it's embarrassing.
I know, they're never like, notice they're always
Ledgestone 120,000, first place took home $5,000.
Yeah, you're never gonna see them talk about winner's gonna win 10 grand until the Pro Tour did that with the finale. And that's why they were able to do that, because they gave.
And guess what happened? We got some outside eyebrows raised because players were taking home some actual money.
The money talks, man. When players are able to earn big paychecks, like the event having a big purse doesn't get people talking. You know, when single athletes make a ton of money from something, like Paul with his contract, for example, that's what people on the outside are talking about. Like, oh, because they don't think, oh, I can play in disc golf and I can play in events with big purses. No, they want to think, oh, I can play disc golf, and if I win, I'm going to win this much money.
Yeah.
Like, that's what they're thinking.
Well, that's the thing, too, is if you look at, like, articles and stuff like that, players' contracts aren't public. Other than Paul's is one of the first ones ever. Some small details have been, but if you ever look at outside articles about disc golf, they list, like, career earnings.
Yeah.
And that looks hilarious. Yeah. It's like the number one player in the world, Paul McBeth.
Didn't he just hit 500K?
Well, what I was going to say is when he was at his prime, and no doubt he's the number one player in the world, 2015 season.
70K?
It was like $75,000. And he like didn't lose. Like, it was the best you could possibly play. Right. And sure, I think Ricky might have earned more than that in one season. I could be wrong there. Players have earned close to that amount in one season.
Nobody's ever done six figures, though.
No, but that's the thing. Is like, to do six figures, you'd have to win. You'd have to play
everything.
I don't think you could do it.
It'd be
you'd
really
have to
hard.
I mean, nowadays you might be able to, but you'd have to win literally everything.
Yeah.
And you'd have to play almost every weekend.
Yeah.
And that just looks embarrassing to the outside. They're looking at it and they're like, because people aren't pulling up
just
Paul's
to make
contractor
6 figures
seeing it
minus tags.
Yeah.
It's
have fun. Yeah. And plus you add in road expenses.
True. Imagine
no one's excited about
Imagine if all the big events, like these players could be making, $8,000 to $10,000.
Because here's my thing too, is
could be huge.
The argument of why you shouldn't do it that way is keeping players on tour, right? I would love to look into, and we might have to do this for a podcast episode, I would love to look into the percentage of players that are finishing outside the top 25.
How many of them are actually on tour?
How many of them are actually fully surviving on tour?
I don't think a lot of them, because even the ones that even some of the disc golfers that are on tour, like they are technically on tour and they technically, like their only income is disc golf, they've got money from somewhere.
Well, a lot of them though are also on tour, but they're vending, doing clinics.
Right. Everybody's got some kind of side hustle.
I would like to see the players who are like the Pauls, Yuli's.
They're literally surviving from the money they make from endorsements and disc golf winnings.
From their play.
There can't be more than 20.
If they get once you're outside the top 25 average finishing, the majority of these players, you see a lot of cycling players where the past 3 or 4 tournaments might have similar names because they're in Texas, but the second the tour goes East Coast, those players aren't there anymore because they're going back to their 9 to 5s or they're going back to whatever because they're not touring.
You might not see your
so why
your Joel Freemans and your Mattios and everything on every event.
Yeah. So players who have day jobs and are showing up to these tour events, they're stoked if they finish high enough to get some extra money.
They're not thinking,
but that's what it is. It's extra money.
I need cash so I can pay rent this month. It's not why they're there, and they shouldn't be if they are.
Yeah. That's my biggest thing is if you're finishing in 35th week in and week out throughout the whole year, and you think that you can live on tour, you're in the wrong sport. There's not that much money in disc golf. There's money in disc golf. There's not that much. No. If you're year in and year out, you're finishing 30 to 50th. I honestly think you'll make more money if you stayed at home and didn't have the tour expenses and just played C and B tiers around you.
Yeah.
You'd probably end up profiting. You'd have more money in your pocket, most likely.
Probably.
I don't know. That thing, whenever we get to the payout question,
there's just a lot of guys who really, really badly want to tour playing disc golf. It's a pipe dream.
It sounds so cool to be a professional athlete. We've all been there. We've all wanted to do it.
Yeah.
some of us have even dipped our toes in the water.
It's also,
and let me tell you, that water burns. It's not. You're not going for a casual swim. It's tough.
It's alluring because the sport is young too, to where and people rise up the ranks so fast and seemingly out of nowhere, but
the barrier to entry is getting harder and harder. Yeah, it's still pretty easy.
But it's getting hard really.
It's getting hard
quickly.
Fast. Yeah, 5 years ago, it was a heck of a lot easier than now.
There's a reason. You're not seeing it as much now. And let me paint a picture for you. Somebody, and you're gonna hate me for using Anthony Barella's name, but it's a good example.
I do not have anything against Anthony Barella. AB. This guy is just obsessed with AB. That's what he's a good
example. AB has been playing disc golf since he was probably really young, really bright, young, talent. Stayed in disc golf the whole time. He has won nothing, and he is now entering his athletic prime in his young 20s. Still hasn't won anything, and that guy is a freak athlete, really good disc golfer. It's all he's done for years. So if that can happen, then that should tell you that disc golf is hard to succeed at right now. It is really hard because to be, like you mentioned, to really be, it's not that, it might be easy to get into the top 100 players in the world, easy compared to other sports, but there's no money until you're in the top 20.
Yeah.
And that top 20 is really hard to get into. Yeah. Unexplainably hard, because that guy in 20th might be Paul Ulibarri, and he's been doing this for a long time, and he's really good at it. So
it's just the percentages, right? If you look at in tennis, which is just tennis,
if you're top 100 in tennis in the world,
you're making millions, probably, maybe not millions. You're making
well.
Six-figure
well. Yeah,
you're doing just
same
fine.
on the PGA Tour, ball golf. You're in the top 100 player in the world.
But then you're
going to the Tour Championship.
You got to reference that top 100. And once you break the amount of players to get to that top 100 and you bring it into disc golf, that's you're getting into the top 5.
Right.
Maybe even less.
Yeah.
And so that's where the barrier to entry seems so much easier, because the amount of players is so much lower. To where you can get into where you might be able to, if you're a young 20s and you're a freak athlete, you might be able to grind it out. AB could live on tour. He could grind it out and survive on tour.
Yeah.
But that's what it would be. It'd be a grind.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you might be able to get to that point where you can grind it out and you can live on tour. But you're not going to be driving. You're not going to be having someone driving your massive RV with your face on the side.
Right.
You're not there yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's a top 5 thing.
Yeah.
And even that, Paul drives his own RV.
Very true.
It doesn't need to, but he does.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably a smart investment not to, but is what it is.
In any case.
All right, it's time to move into a fan favorite segment, Trevor's Trivia. What do you have for me today?
All right, so I actually found a pretty cool map quiz about disc golf courses, and the quiz was related to how many states in our country have over 100 disc golf courses in them. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Don't roll your eyes.
I'm done. I'm gonna suck at this game.
You'll have a decent chance at this. I mean, so the way we're gonna play it is there's 22 of them. So look at that. You could guess one, and your odds are almost 50-50.
I'm trying to think of a certain one.
And I will let you...
Over 100 courses?
I will let you guess until you get one wrong. That is how it works. We've done this before. Yeah. You get to guess. You get one wrong, game's over. Some of these, I
understand the rules.
You should be able to go on for a while, because,
I don't know if I can. Because I've got, 5.
You should be able to go on for quite a while. If you think about where very notable courses are in the country, that tends to sync up.
Over 100. So California
is 288.
Yeah. Texas
has 370.
Yeah.
They're the most.
North Carolina's got to.
They have 234.
So now we're getting to the hard part.
Come on.
Florida
has 139.
Oh, wow. That's way closer than I expected. That's terrifying.
That was one of my first guesses, though, too. You just guessed the top 4, most guessed ones.
Yeah.
So.
100. 100's a lot of courses.
There is quite a few states that have more than double that still.
Well, I understand that. But I don't want to mess up, so I'm trying to find certain ones, because there's a bunch in the Midwest I could say, but some might have 5 and some might have 350. I want to say Michigan.
Yes, Michigan is 264.
You see what I did there? Because I didn't guess it. I just let him tell me.
I'm just trying to help you out.
And then West Virginia is a definite no-go.
Correct. There's not West Virginia.
Ryan, one of our friends, Ryan, lives in West Virginia, and he lives near a pretty big city, and he has to drive an hour to get to a good course.
Yeah.
So I knew that was a no-go. But on the flip side of that coin is Virginia.
Yes, 109.
I mean, I'm not even guessing at this point. I'm trying to talk through it. All right.
Giving you an assist. They have 109 though. They're close.
Because my next thoughts, Tennessee.
132.
Yeah, Tennessee had to, especially if Virginia did.
That was a good one. That's
Georgia.
Yeah, they don't have a ton. 105.
What am I at? 8 now?
Yeah.
105?
Yeah.
I went by the skin of my teeth on that one.
I think that's the closest one. There's one somewhere that had like 99. I forget what it was. So
So I'm at 7 right now.
Yeah.
There's 22?
You're at 8 right now, I think.
Am I at 8?
Yeah, I think so.
So, oh boy. These are tough.
Think of like an iconic disc golf state.
Oregon.
There you go. 123. That's what I was just thinking of.
Okay. There's so many states that... Okay. Come on, Hunter. Think through this. Oklahoma.
Wow. That is the least guessed one, but it is 122 in Oklahoma.
Yes.
Now, only 40% of people were able to guess
I know
that
there's
one.
a lot of disc golf in Oklahoma.
Wow. That was a good one.
All right, I'm at 10, so I'm
You're
pretty proud of myself.
You're doing pretty
now.
well. I wouldn't say you're really missing any obvious ones. I mean,
You
you're
gotta
missing...
stay in the Midwest.
You're missing one that I would hope you would get, but...
I think I'll work with you.
That terrifies me. See, I would say... This is not a guess.
Okay.
I would say South Carolina, but another part of me feels like there's not as much disc golf in South Carolina as you think, because a lot of it's up towards Charlotte, which is North Carolina. Right. So I don't know. I'm not going to guess South Carolina yet. I'm going to save that later. But if that's the obvious one, it is on my brain.
I don't know how that could be obvious. Well, I guess because you're saying because of Rock Hill.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Kansas.
Yes, 180 in Kansas.
So I'm at 11. I'm halfway there.
You're doing pretty well. I would be mystified if you got these all.
I would be too. See, a big part of me wants to go like Ohio/Kentucky, but I don't know which one to go because the Natty Disc Golf covers both, and there's a lot of good courses, but I don't know if they're mainly in Kentucky or mainly in Ohio, so I'm going Ohio.
Got it. 209.
Let's go. All right, I'm at 12.
Wow.
12.
Oh, man. This is epic. There's no way.
We got to go. Oh, Illinois is a big one. Is that in there, though? Wisconsin's also a possibility. Oh, those are terrifying. This is tough.
Go with your gut, man.
I don't want to go with my gut. Alabama has a lot of golf, but does it have enough? I got to stay in the Midwest, I feel like. I'm thinking I'm missing some. I hear of Arizona, but I always hear the same courses in Arizona. Nevada, you only ever hear the Las Vegas Challenge. What's up near Oregon? There's
one more state up there.
Yeah, I know. What Washington?
Washington.
I don't think that has a lot of disc golf. Could be wrong. Utah, where Worlds is. That one probably doesn't, though.
Just going on a geography quiz at this point.
This is so hard. How many states do I even know?
You're still... I mean, you've named a lot of states that are both on and off this list. I'll say that.
Yeah, I know. All right, I'm just going for it. Did I already say Ohio? I did.
Yeah.
So I'm shooting my shot with...
Your phone's ringing.
Shooting my shot with Massachusetts.
Oh, no.
That's because the phone call I was getting was from Massachusetts, and I hit Maple Hill.
No.
I just thought...
You literally went... Before that...
Alabama was the one I was going to guess
No,
for the phone call.
wrong.
Okay, so I would have been out either way.
You had Illinois and Wisconsin. Those are both in there.
See, I just couldn't tell. It's
You
hard
also
to tell
mentioned...
when the winner states.
You also mentioned Washington. That's in there. Just barely. So
Did
you were
you say
missing...
Texas?
I did.
You were missing... You didn't say Pennsylvania, my home state. Where
I didn't even... I forgot that state existed. I'm
I
sorry.
did too.
I completely forgot.
Pennsylvania,
I did not even
Illinois,
cross my mind.
New York is just in there.
New York?
116.
Wow. Because there's like no
Washington,
courses in New York, I thought.
Wisconsin, Missouri,
Missouri? Oh, Gateway's near the Missouri.
Indiana,
Indiana?
Colorado,
Oh, I should have known Colorado.
Iowa.
Colorado's the only one I feel like on that list that I could have gotten. And Pennsylvania. But Pennsylvania never even came through my
Nobody
mind.
really thinks about Pennsylvania. You know?
I'm not going to lie to you.
It's just a
Pennsylvania
little
never
treasure
even
trove.
crossed. And New York, I would have never guessed. Because I remember when...
I would not have guessed New York. You honestly did pretty well.
Because I guess I'm just thinking, whenever you think of New York, you think of New York City. And there's like one course and it's way out on Long Island, apparently.
Yeah, I would not have guessed New
So
York.
like New York...
The mainland must have some...
Yeah, they must have a lot of courses.
I don't know.
Dang. Yeah, Massachusetts, that was an awful guess. What was I thinking?
Hate that
They probably
for
have
you.
like 55 courses.
I don't know. Maybe it wasn't the worst guess.
I feel like it's such a small state. There had to be so many courses per square mile.
That's true. There wasn't really any.
Colorado was the most obvious one left. I should have got Colorado.
Colorado, yeah.
All right. Well, back to Oregon. There's been some unfortunate news that the Beaver State Fling for this year has been canceled due to storm damage to the course and some uncertainty still around COVID. Basically, they still have been unable to get the permit from what I understand. But this is according to the PDGA. On February 12th, 2021, snow and ice began to fall around the Portland, Oregon metro area. After several days of the same, thousands had lost power and downed trees littered the usually scenic landscape. When parks officials were finally able to get out to Milo MacIver State Park, which is where Beaver State Fling is, to assess the damage, they were shocked at what they found. Milo looked like a logging project had moved through the park, and it took them almost 3 weeks to even clear the park roads for farther assessment. Currently, the Riverbend day use area, which includes the disc golf courses, remains closed as a safety precaution while crews work to clear the storm damage and is not expected to be open until late May at the earliest. To add to the situation, the park is still not issuing special use permits due to the uncertainty of the state of the pandemic at the time of the event. So, basically, the special use permits, it was probably still up in the air, but they were pretty confident that was going to happen as to why it hadn't been canceled yet.
Yeah.
And then the storm damage is the reason it's getting canceled now, because now they know it's a 2-for-1. Like, this event is not going to happen.
Yeah, it sounds like a mess, and that's a shame because I was really looking forward to that tournament, but you don't want the Beaver State Fling to be, them to have to rush something and then the whole course is a mess and not in good shape. So it really stinks, but, they had to do what they had to do. Not a good situation, but just had to be how it was, I guess, this year.
Yeah, I think it's obviously, it sucks for this year with the national tour and sucks for fans not being able to see it and for players wanting to get back there. But it raises a question to me, right? Obviously, wooded disc golf is amazing, right? And it's the easiest way to create naturally difficult courses.
Right.
There have been some drawbacks, which is like filming it can be tough because it's hard to keep the line of the disc in. And obviously as the sport grows and spectators. But those up to this point have been the only two like counter arguments to wooded disc golf. But now this had me kind of wondering, like, imagine if Worlds was out there this year.
Yeah.
And imagine if this is instead of months before, where if this was Worlds could still happen.
It's the week before.
It's the week before.
Right.
A storm rolls through. Like, is there like some type of sustainability issue or risk that needs to be thought of when we're putting major events and major investments and stuff like that into heavily wooded courses?
What's funny is I literally, when I was in school, we had a press conference like disaster situation project, and my situation, they give you a situation like 24 hours before you have to present on it, and mine was that I was running the PGA championship at Torrey Pines and the course got laid out by a storm and I had to figure out what to do with it. So luckily at Torrey Pines there's more than one course, so I just moved a course. But in this situation, it's obviously that's not so simple.
Well, also in a golf situation, I don't know what Torrey Pines looks like, but to me, worst case scenario, a storm rolls through. Golf, you're not having to have the trees line a fairway to define the fairway.
Well, yeah. Well, with tree damage, the big problem, like in the ball golf situation I had, was like, you got to remember in a PGA tournament, they're building entire bleacher stands and TV towers to where like you can't have wet ground that's destroyed everywhere. But yeah, no, like, I mean, you'd hate to say, like, to think about it, but like there are some courses that are like iconic and wooded where like if the right storm hit, it could like kind of ruin part of the course. Like,
well, this is one of them.
Yeah, so I'm like, that might be one of the better examples. There's no telling what this course is ever going
to look like again.
Yeah, like what if there's like trees that are really big parts of certain holes and they're gone forever? Like,
well, that happened to obviously a much lower scale, but a course about an hour from here. It was it's in what is the name of this course?
Greenfield?
No.
Where is it?
It was near Smith Mountain Lake, Rocky Mount.
Oh.
Virginia. No one really liked the course. But it was a decent course. A brawl was there every year. Why? Like it's just this is the name of the course is completely irrelevant.
Are you talking about Big Ridge?
No.
Okay,
you've probably never played it.
I have no idea then.
Shoot.
Nobody
the name
knows
of the course
what
is
it
completely
anyway.
irrelevant. Like it does not matter to the story. But basically, a tornado came through. It was a heavily wooded course.
Yeah.
A tornado came through, and the main part of the tornado hit the course. And this was like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And they just never reopened the course because there was too much damage.
Yeah.
That like the lines were completely gone. The woods were, it basically got turned into almost an open field. There were so many trees down that it would have taken the county hundreds of thousands of dollars to even clear all the trees down and stuff like that. And the wooded part was just a walking trail and a disc golf course. And so why would they invest all that money into that?
Right. Yeah.
But, you know, if think of like,
I think it's just going to be like whenever big events are planned, like hopefully this is part of their thought process, but like if I'm doing Worlds or USDGC or whatever it is, now USDGC, like that's kind of one they're probably just going to have to scratch. But if I'm doing Worlds and I'm doing it at a course in the woods at a time of the year where storms are likely, like I think you just got to have a contingency plan at that point. Like if this happens, like as long as there's at least a few days of time or whatever, like it's going to go to this course and this is going to go to this course. Cause it's not, you know, super difficult to just like have that plan in place as long as you plan ahead of time. Cause I agree if they got caught off guard.
well, let's say like here, if let's say that we were having the PDGA Pro World Championships here.
Yeah.
There is 2 courses that I think in Lynchburg, there are 2 courses that are caliber.
We'd probably have to move it to like our contingency plan might be moving it to another state.
Yeah.
Like North Carolina. We might be going 3 hours south.
Yeah.
But like, cause like, yeah, if you have a storm that's really bad, like up in Oregon where all those courses are right near, there's a good chance they all got damaged.
Yeah.
So like at that point, your contingency plan needs to be, we're going to California or wherever it might be, you know, hopefully you have enough time. And like sometimes these things happen and you just can't do anything about it. Other thing about Worlds too is like if it really came down to it, they could reschedule it and just cancel a national tour or something.
Yeah.
Or turn a national tour into
I'm just
Worlds.
thinking like putting iconic courses where they're heavily reliant on woods.
I think it's just gonna be one of those things where it's just a matter of like hopefully they don't get unlucky. Like those courses, like I don't really think we should choose the events around. I mean, I think the Pro Tour may already be moving in a direction where they're going to choose a lot of new courses that are probably more open because it makes it easier for them to run the event that they want to run.
It's easier to run spectators, to get the cameras back and forth. There is the only downside to me to more open golf is that
exciting.
It's not as exciting.
Yeah.
But if you look at logistic
it is more
wise,
fair though.
If you look at pretty much every other aspect of it, it wins.
Yeah.
Minus the excitement and difficulty for the players.
I've always been a fan of like hybrid courses, a little bit of woods, a little bit of open.
I agree.
You know, a little bit of best of both worlds.
Because like as the sport grows and there's more emphasis on live coverage, you're gonna need a place where you can get cameras to cover multiple different holes and stuff like that.
Open can be done right too. You know,
that's the key.
Use the flags. Use obstacles. Like USDGC, I think does it so beautifully. They use their water.
That's the thing is, so many people hate USDGC's course.
They hate the flags, and maybe they go a little.
They hate the rope.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Maybe they go a little overboard with the rope, but there are things they do. Like for instance, like the big wall of like ivy, like the bushes alongside their right side. Not a huge like tree that had to grow for hundreds of years. It's just like an obstacle that's there, and they use it really well because it plays a big factor in that hole. Or they use like the slopes, like the hole with the elevated basket where it goes downhill. They're just using elevation there. It doesn't have anything to do with other obstacles. You know, the hole where you go through that triple mando, again, not like anything crazy there. They just strategically place what they have to work with on a relatively open course to where it makes the holes super difficult to play. And like I think that's the key is like open disc golf. Sometimes I see events on ball golf courses and they stink sometimes.
It's just
hyzer. Like, yeah, there's flags on the left and the right and maybe a few islands, but like they're not using, you know, like the Thorn Spring event that we just covered. They used the tree lines that was a really open ball golf course, and they used the tree lines really well.
To shape
they
shots.
used the water and the creeks really well to where you had to throw certain types of shots.
Yeah, no one was just throwing a hyzer and winning the tournament.
Yeah,
they had to shape shots.
I think the more disc golf becomes open, it's not. I love wooded disc golf courses. I think they're going to be around for probably forever, or at least a long time. But I think as open courses become more popular, especially on the Pro Tour, it's just going to make course design so much more important. I think it's going to become like ball golf. Like right now, course designers in disc golf don't have a huge name for themselves. Like,
some do.
You know them in areas like kind of locally, and there's a few that like might be considered big names, but like in ball golf, there are courses where like if you hear that, I think Pete Dye is one of them, or Greg Norman or Arnold Palmer, if you know that one of those guys design a course wherever it might be, you know it's good. And like I think as disc golf requires more skill to develop a course that can actually be like challenging pros but still suit the needs of the tour, like I think disc golf course designers, we're going to start seeing who the really good ones are.
I think it'd be sick. This has nothing to do with anything we're talking about, but just course designers. I think it'd be sick if there was some type of like, and it'd have to be by like the Pro Tour or the PDGA. If there was like some type of course or certification that a course designer could go through. Yeah. So that you, not that like random people couldn't design a pitch and putt, but like if the PDGA was going to have a X, Y, or Z event, like a major, or the Pro Tour is going to come in town, like the designer of said course, it needed to be like approved by a DGPT approved designer or something like that. Yeah. To where you have someone
It's so tough right now to decide like who are the experts though, and why are they the experts?
Yeah, because everyone has a because some people would say that Innova with Winthrop Gold is an expert course designer. Course and other people would say they're the worst designers.
It's very subjective, so it is tough to say. Like now the PGA program, like they have a course rating system where they have people that can go out to a course and decide the slope and the rating of a course, basically saying, at least the rating, it basically tells you what a scratch golfer should shoot at this course. So there is like more of a universal system. I would like to see a system like that for the tour, the more notable courses. I wish there was a way where the big, most notable courses in our sport, like you go to Maple Hill, that course has a rating, and you can see what is a 1,000 rated player supposed to shoot at Maple Hill. I think it's possible, but then it's again like it's one of those things where it's like, how do we decide who's the guy who does that? How does he decide?
Well, also like, it's so one difficult. Thing with disc golf is like a ball golf course doesn't really ever change.
Yeah, disc golf course
very slowly. Yeah, Maple Hill. It could change just like that. It hasn't changed drastically, but a tree falls on one, opens up a brand new line, that hole plays a stroke easier. Not one at Maple Hill, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah. That happens in disc golf all the time. Yeah. Where discs start going through and now this new
disc golf courses just change a lot in general.
They just change all the time.
Yeah, it's
so
true.
If someone comes out, it almost have to be a yearly thing if they reevaluate.
Yeah, and I don't I like that in a sense, especially for like local courses, but I think any event that has prestige to it, like the USDGC is really the only good example we have of this, because it's really the only event that stays where it is. And I think we need more events like this. And I think that's just going to come with age, because as the Pro Tour establishes itself, we're going to see the same events over and over again, and we'll know that they're at this course, and that'll happen. But the USDGC is like the best example we have. And I like that. I mean, I think they're despicable for changing hole number 1 for starters, because I think it was a great hole 1. And it was iconic, and they ruined it. But besides that, they've done a pretty good job with keeping the holes as similar as possible to what they are. Because like when you go to Augusta for the Masters, they've had to change a few things, like the distance of the tees to work with the new technology. But for the most part, like when you get to Amen Corner at Augusta, it's the same as it was 100 years ago. Like it's important to have like iconic holes in history and have things not change. But like I said, I think that's only really important when we're talking about the courses that we see year after year, so that people can like remember, like, oh, that's this hole. Like that's important for fans. It's good to make a sport easy to follow for fans. You don't want it. You want things to be recognizable to them. It goes for the players, the courses, the events. You want things to be repeatable so that they can like always think in their mind, oh, I saw this last time. I've heard of this. It's just more satisfying as a fan when you know more about the sport. It's more fun to follow a sport when you know a bunch about it. But yeah. That's basically my point on all that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it's just something that, like you said, it'll come. We're such a young sport that a lot of that will come. But I don't know. I think that I come from Virginia, North Carolina golf. I love wooded golf.
I do too. Pennsylvania's like that too.
I don't think it's the future of the sport.
Probably not.
And open golf, there's too many pros to open golf and there's too many potential cons to wooded golf. Like, how are you ever, if we had 10,000 people in an event, where are they watching?
Once the sport gets big enough, like, you just can't do it.
Like, where are they watching at Northwood Golds?
No.
They're not.
Nowhere, yeah.
You can't. as we wrap up the show, we're going to head into the predictions for the Vintage Open. It's a Silver Series event coming up this weekend. A lot of big names going to be there. Who do you have, Trevor, top 3 MPO?
Yeah, so I'm going pretty generic with MPO. I'm going to have Ricky number 1, Calvin number 2. Number 3, I'm going to sneak in Nico LaCastro, playing pretty decent golf this year.
So we're back in Arkansas.
Yeah.
So I'm sneaking Kevin Jones into my number 3. He always plays good in his home state. Normally that's at the Jonesboro Open because I think that's actually like his home city too. But I don't know. It's an Arkansas event. Kevin Jones, I'm going Chris Dickerson second. He also tends to play pretty good in Arkansas. I'm basing all this off Jonesboro for some reason. I'm just not realizing that, but we're rolling with it. Chris Dickerson second, and Ricky's on fire right now.
Yeah.
I'm going Ricky first place. I think he's taken down on FPO. I have Sarah Hokum. She played really good at the last weekend Lone Star Classic. I think she's going to do it again. Take it down right over Kona Panis. It's going to come in second place. And wrapping out my top 3, I'm going to have Katrina Allen. She's always in the mix. I think she will be again.
Yeah, I have a little bit different. I'm gonna have Kat taking it down. I'm gonna have Kona in second, but then I'm gonna sneak Missy Gannon into third.
She's a previous champion of this event.
Yeah, and playing pretty well, so I'm gonna sneak her in there. She could take it down for sure.
Now we're gonna bring back something that we haven't done in a little bit, and we're gonna put a twist on it. So we're gonna bring back our dark horse pick.
Yes.
You guys, everyone seemed to like it when we did it before, but here's the twist. So we're changing the rules up. They must be a sub 1,000 rated player, so that way it makes it where it's probably gonna be like a local person or something like that. Sub 1,000 rated player, and we're each gonna pick one. Me, Trevor, and Connor. Whoever's does the worst out of the 3 that we pick, whoever picked that person has to buy coffee for the winner of the challenge. So if whoever I pick ends up beating both of theirs, then whoever came in last buys me coffee. That was about the hardest way to explain it, but I think I did it right. All right, so my dark horse pick for this weekend is going to be Ian Burchett or Burchett.
Or Burchett.
Who knows? Or Burchett. Ian Burchett. 998 rated, so sneaking up to that 1,000, but just jumped 15 points. His game is trending upwards right now. The Vintage Open should be terrified of this guy walking in. Dark horse pick of the week.
Dang. Okay, I'm going with Trevon Crow. I'm pretty sure I've picked him before.
You picked him before, and he did very well.
He did really well for me. 995. Might have been 995 rated. He's had some pretty solid finishes this year. He's been playing in Texas, doing it pretty well. Just a consistent pick, and I've got a lot of confidence in him. So yeah.
Connor, what are you thinking? You had Trevon Crow, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm going to go. This is just because his last name almost sounds like McLaren. So it's Justin McLuhan.
Justin McLuhan?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, he's 989 rated.
Ooh. Bonus points for going the lower rated.
Yep. And that's who I choose.
So we got Justin.
I'll get ready to buy whoever coffee.
Justin McLuhan, Ian Burchett, and Trevon Crow. So follow along with them. Make sure you're tweeting at us and letting us know who's going to end up buying who coffee. And hopefully we remember that next week before the podcast starts.
Yes.
And it's time to wrap this show up. The final segment, make that call. It's time to put Trevor into yet another scenario.
Fair part.
All right. You're playing Independence Park long tees.
Yeah.
Okay. You step up to hole 4. I think it's hole 4. The one with the creek for the fairway.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, the first one with the upper tee.
Yep, but the creek is the fairway.
Yeah.
So there's a creek that runs down the middle of the fairway.
Never hit this fairway.
The creek is casual. Okay. So your disc lands in the middle of the creek.
Sometimes there's a snake in there.
Yeah. Disc lands in the middle of the casual creek. If you want to take casual relief, it would bring you about 100-some feet back down the fairway.
Yes.
But where your disc landed, the creek's too deep to where you can't really stand in it. Okay?
I might, but
you could.
Continue.
But right next to you, there's a rock on the ground. It's a pretty big rock.
Oh, this is going to be interesting.
Can you put that rock down behind your lie to stand on it so that you can throw from in the creek instead of taking relief?
That's fascinating. Well, so there's gonna have to be a very specific rule on this because that rock is dead and unattached, and it's where is it? Is it behind my lie? Is that gonna matter?
It's near you. You're not at your lie yet. You're walking up, noticing your lie. Can you bring this rock with you?
Is the rock behind my lie?
I mean, somewhere behind it, yeah, you're walking up to it.
Okay, because I'm just saying it's dead and attached behind my lie means I can move it. So I'm allowed to move it. So there would have to be a rule in the PDGA saying that you can't do this specifically, like move a rock to like assist your lie. I'm just wondering if there's any language in the rule that says like you can move something dead and attached behind your lie as long as it doesn't assist you. Well, you are assisting your lie. That's the whole point of it. This is like too good of a loophole for you to have found this all on your own. I'm going to say you can't.
Well, who says I found it all on my own, first off?
I'm going to say, well, then maybe you can. There has to be a rule against this.
I will tell you this part. This is from the question and answer section of the PDGA. I did not find this on my own.
Put a rock in the water. Well,
the question is, was the question answered yes or no?
I'm going to say you can do this because the whole point of casual is that like you should be able to play from there as if it was a normal shot. Like they don't, because like a lot of times when there's casual water, like they didn't really want the water to be there in the first place. So you kind of should be able to play from there as if it was normal. So I want to say you can.
Wrong. So if you choose not to take casual relief back along the line of play, then you must take your stance as you would anywhere else on the course. Mm-hmm. This is where you got confused. The only time you're allowed to move obstacles is to move casual obstacles out of your lie. So it's not anything behind your lie. It's something that's impeding your lie or impeding on or whatever that word is. So something that's encroaching upon. So I just use like 10 different words for the same thing.
So
something that's like in the way of your lie, because
somebody's going to stroke me for kicking a rock, like somewhere along the course.
I said you picked up a rather large rock and brought it to your lie.
But it hasn't even related to disc golf. It just happened. I just picked up the rock. That was cool. Oh, I just sat it right behind the lie.
Because the only time you're allowed to move obstacles that are a part of the course, i.e. rocks, is to move them out of your lie. If you do not want to play, and that's assuming it's dead and attached. If you do not want to play the lie as it is, you can take casual relief, you can take optional relief, or abandon the throw at the cost of a penalty throw.
That's a bummer.
So you cannot do it.
Whatever.
That's what I thought was very interesting because last week's rule was you can literally lean on a crutch. How are these two the same thing?
Yeah, so let me just like...
So then my question is, and I don't know the answer to this.
Sit in a chair.
What if we took like a stack of discs out of our bag, so it's not a part of the course, and I put it on the ground?
What if it was just my bag?
Yeah. I mean,
what if my bag's a flotation device?
What if you sat on your stool? What if you sat on your stool behind it?
There are infinite
or your caddy.
Yeah, what if I lay Connor down?
There are infinite possibilities with that rule. PDGA doesn't even know what the rules are. They're just making it up as they go, and I respect that.
I mean, I just know last week, like, it was pretty obvious you could use a cane or a crutch or something to, like, assist your throw. So why couldn't I just balance myself on top of that crane, Karate Kid style, as I forehand out of the creek? But if it was a rock, it's illegal. Do know that. That is in the books. All right, thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed listening to this week's podcast. No, I was about to ask you to tweet something, and I was thinking through my mind if I actually wanted to make you tweet it, but no, I'm not going to have you do it. Tweet at us, though. Tweet at FoundationDG, and let us know you're listening to the podcast, whether you're loving it, hating it. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, leave us a review. We've gotten a lot of reviews. We really appreciate each and every one of them, and we would love to get a few more. And if you're here on YouTube, leave us a comment on some topics you want us to cover as the season rolls on, some things that you find interesting that you would like some more information on. And other than that, we will talk to you next week.